Yo guys, this is Reinhardt, this is your favorite Russian talking, and today we're gonna be talking about me. Yes, it's all about me, bitches. No, just there's a lot of questions where I've been. Yes, I'm alive. The second question is what the hell I was up to. Working like a madman so I can actually make the website that supports a really big gaming community. Third question is why am I not playing WoW? Well, everybody knows the answer to that. World of Warcraft is shit right now. And I've been paying for like 6-7 months for the game and I haven't even logged on once. So Wildstar comes out, and Alpha for Warlords of Draenor comes out, and the way I look at him, like, okay, so I love to try out Warlords of Draenor. I like the mechanics of the World of Warcraft probably more than Wildstar, but the game comes out, the game is not there, it's not in release. I didn't get the alpha, and then I'm still paying for the game. So what's the point of me paying for the game? Well, I was like, okay, well, not really. So I unsubscribed from WoW, got myself a Wildstar, didn't buy a super expensive pack, fuck that shit, and I got myself a subscription to Wildstar. So far from what I'm looking at, if the game is gonna keep the popularity going, it might be my second focus of the game, and I really want to see what kind of arenas the game is gonna have. On the other hand, the Wildstar could be the other thing where I'm just gonna be playing it till Warlords comes out. So regardless of what's gonna happen, I believe in Warlords of Draenor in general, but to me playing Wildstar, it's gonna be till Warlords of Draenor, or maybe Wildstar and Warlords of Draenor. We'll see how it's gonna go. But overall, the Wildstar, I do think the game is fun. The game grows on you. In the beginning I was like, wow, this is horrible. But at the end of the day, it starts growing on you. All the graphics, all the quests, the storyline, the races, the freaking... Well, I mean, I have a gunslinger. This little guy with the double guns shooting people. This little freaking red thing. I even called him a Reinhardt cutie. This is the first Reinhardt cutie I ever made, the nickname. Alright? There's a freaking pet Pikachu Chihuahua, looks adorable. So, and I'm not a big fan of adorable anyway. So even I find it's kind of adorable. So there's a lot of the cool, this little tricks and perks about the game that kind of have a tendency to grip onto you and hold on to you. And I think it's pretty awesome. The class design is there. There is a uniqueness of the classes. There is a multiple specs of the classes. There's a lot of different customizations, and this my nerd analyzing brain is actually going orgasmic a little bit, because at which specific points, which abilities should I take, which abilities should I augment, which passives should I take. On the other hand, unfortunately, there's a lot of amps that you have to take from your talents, and from what I heard is most of them easily accessible from PvE, but not so much from PvP. So that's kind of sucky. The second one is I picked again, probably the side that loses to BGs the most, which is Dominion versus Exile. On average, Exile wins a lot more BGs, I would say. Like 2 to 3. 2 out of 3 usually wins the BGs. And that's a good ratio. So unless I make a really good pre-made group going where we rape the fuck out of the enemy team, it usually loses. So class disturbance relatively similar. It's like 17 to 14%. So there's like the most popular is 17, the least popular is 14% from record, which is actually pretty good, because in WoW it's like it could be like 20% class distribution to like 5 or 6%. So that is a good idea. So class design, good. Game aesthetics, game play, finding stuff is relatively easy. The overall game is actually made for you to enjoy. One thing I don't like about it, and it's my personal preference, maybe because I grew out of it, but I'm not a teenager, as you can see, a little bit maybe. So me playing the game that has this like chicks having like this overgrown boobs and like this huge tiny waist and then a huge ass, like this is not real. Even the robot that I made, the medic, the guy runs like a freaking fruitcake. And he has small waist, big butt, and a huge chest. And that was a male. That was actually a male droid, a male robot. Fucking A, man, the Terminator would probably like turns in his coffin right now from anger just by looking at the droids that actually Wildstar created. But regardless of that, so anyway, big bright colors, a lot of cuteness is awesome, but overall they kind of cranked up the sexual appeal of the females way too much, in my opinion. Way too much to my personal liking. Granted, it's nice to see a nice looking ass running from a male perspective, but there's a lot of, me personally, I like playing a male character. And when the people say, well, you're a homo, well, first of all, no disrespect to gay or straight people, but when the people say it, I'm like, dude, we're playing a freaking video game, okay? We're watching a bunch of pixels running on our screen. Does it really matter? Like, when I'm running and I'm controlling my character, the only thing I'm thinking about is actually how to kill shit, not looking at my character's ass, okay? I'm not that pathetic. If what I can possibly look at my girlfriend's ass, not the animated ass. Anyway, so that's a little bit, sex appeal a little bit too cranked up. But now let's actually talk about the most important thing, which is the combat. The combat system itself looks pretty strange. There is a three different, from what I understand, there's a three different ranges: melee range, mid range, far range. So for example, Spellslinger, he has a thinner but longer cones of damage. Let's say a medic has a thicker but mid range, and the warrior has the biggest, widest arc, but it's obviously the shortest as well. So that would kind of make sense. The only problem with that arises is that it's easier to point out the actual mid range and the long range than melee. And when the melee gets in a character, he gets messed up by other melees, by mid-range classes, and by high-range classes. So being a melee in a game on a big war zones is actually very cumbersome. And unless you have a pocket healer to heal your ass, it actually becomes very unenjoyable experience, because even when nobody even targets you, you are becoming a victim of AoE. Literally the whole floor will be filled with AoE, and you're like, well, where the hell do I go? Like, nothing you can do about it. So that's not my favorite feature. I think there's a little bit too much AoE for my taste, and that's where I'm going from the so-so area. I really personally like to see a little bit more single target actual abilities. And I understand the game is not about the targeting. The game is all about the skill shots and all that stuff. And while I think it is kind of fun mechanic, I do think that it's a little bit too easy. It's a little bit benefits range classes a little bit more, in this case actually a lot more than warriors. On the other hand, because of that, warriors and actually stackers are incredibly strong in 1v1 class. As a warrior, I rarely lose to anybody when I meet them 1v1 in a situation. This warrior just does way too much damage if he gets on a target, if he gets close. The problem is, you are plate class and you get melted in a matter of seconds because the sheer amount of AoE that's going through you. So that. The another so kind of mechanic is the community is actually very, very toxic. I don't enjoy the community. I think even the World of Warcraft can have a better community right now, which is very surprising. But it looks like the appeal of that game was towards a lot of younger people. And let's face it, I know myself personally. Younger people, fuck man, they like to flame shit. They like to go ape and say the most retarded comments possible. The most bilinear, very, very oversimplistic comments or insults. God, that's just sometimes irritating. Like on the chat you could say something like, man, this is freaking bullshit, guys. Come on, pick up your stuff. Let's work as a team. Let's get the objective done. And you know what people are gonna say? Oh, you suck, man. You suck. Look at me, I'm top damage. By the way, I like killing shit. I like top damage. But anyway, so that regards, the community is also not the greatest. Probably below League of Legends even even though League of Legends would be known for its toxicity. Last but not least, I would say probably the most ugly thing about WildStar, from what I noticed, is a very binary gameplay and a low skill floor. So while I love the game in general, I think it's a lot of fun. I think there's some depth to it in game, but I do think it's still very easy to game. I like when the game has the curve where it's like high skill, low skill, and it's kind of a curve medium, where most of the average players are over here, some over here that are completely terrible, and some over here that are insanely good. So in WildStar what happens is, while this curve exists, in WildStar it's cranked all the way high, and it goes like this. So there's a very small difference between a great player and a good player and a bad player. There's a very small difference. There's basically none, and even though it's fun, it's not that fun. Let me put it this way, an example. Like I was fighting a healer and a rogue at the same time, and usually in World of Warcraft, if I fight against those two, I just demolish both of them very easily. In WildStar, I killed the healer, I was at half HP, and I started fighting the rogue, and after about a 2-minute battle, the rogue's companions came and killed me. And it looks that way just from a sheer number of the type of the CCs, the amount of CCs the game have, and everything else. It doesn't actually focus on more outplaying players as more as just being there and doing something. So what I like about World of Warcraft is actually strategic thinking on how to outsmart your opponent and how to dish out that awesome, nice, juicy damage. While that existed in World of Warcraft, where you strategize your abilities to kill somebody, you landed the interrupt on a healer, you yell your team members in RBG to switch on that healer, CC the other healer. Then in 3 seconds you stun the healer with asphyxiate. After that you basically pet stun them and do 2 grips to interrupt. You line everything up in order to kill. The biggest lineup is, well, there's one knockback that you knock down that you can roll out, and there's one stun, and during that time the max you can do is take maybe 25% of 30% of somebody's HP, while at the same time, basically, here's the thing, I need to stop rambling. Because there's so much AoE, the healers are also very powerful in general, and some classes have a really good way of dealing with the healers. It's mostly warriors and stalkers, believe it or not, but most of the range is actually pretty horrible against the healers, where healers are out healing. The healers are very powerful in the game, basically because of sheer amount of AoE damage there. And no matter how much you can do, no matter how great you can play, there's a limit to where raw numbers can get you. And what I mean by that is, if the healing is more powerful than a DPS, much more powerful than one single target damage, no matter how much and how hard you try, they will out heal you. Obviously, case by case scenario. For example, my warrior, he has a mortal strike 40%. So even now, healers have a really hard time healing against my warrior 1v1. Well, they're actually not killing, I actually kill them eventually. While if any other class tries to kill a healer, the healer just laughs at them and keeps on healing. So just sheer amount of AoE and damage and meters kind of designed to promote a mediocrity, in my opinion. And even though I love the game in general, I do think that it's actually missing really that great component of a strategical thinking of how to outplay your opponent and how to kill them. Even Rift, in my opinion, has a little bit more strategical thinking than actually WildStar. But nevertheless, I do encourage for you guys who have some money to spend to try out the game, because the game is awesome. Also, if you want, come on my streams, I'll be streaming the game as well. Thank you guys for watching this video, and до свидания.